Hello, and welcome to a special episode of the Batteries Included podcast. I'm Dominic Yoni, and my co host today is Tom Logney, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. For this episode, we are joined by special guest Gleb Nikiforov, founder and CEO of United Chargers. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree focused on computer programming from Minsk Radio Engineering University in Belarus. To be transparent, United Chargers is our sponsor for our Friday shows. With that said, this is not a sponsored show, but we just thought Gleb would be a great person to talk to about the EV industry since he has a unique perspective on it as a producer of home charging equipment. So welcome, Gleb. Great to have you on.
Thank you very much, guys. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. So just to start real quick, Gleb, your LinkedIn says that you are the owner of a 2013 Tesla Model S. Is that still the case, or
It's not the case anymore, but yes, I've been an owner for this vehicle for about 8 years.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. It was a great vehicle.
Can we ask what you're driving now?
I'm driving a Porsche plug-in hybrid.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, Gleb, you have some strong opinions about what's happening right now in the electric vehicle adoption area. So, let's see. We want to talk a little bit about what's slowing things up and how things can be improved. So, I guess why don't we start with infrastructure?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
As you know, we have charging infrastructure quite a bit, but reliability is a huge issue, and we still need more because we're adopting more electric vehicles all the time. So we need to expand the amount of fast charging and AC charging that we have around. But reliability is a huge issue, and most networks that aren't named Tesla don't install very many dispensers per site. So what are we doing wrong here?
Well, we should look at this problem from a little bit different angle. So everybody is like polarized, focused on, we need more chargers. Yes, we do need more chargers, but do we need the chargers which we have right now, or we need something else? In 2017, I believe, when the Electrify America was formed after the Dieselgate, 17, we as well participated in a little bit of a review through the company called autochargers.ca, which I own as well. And that is a Canadian installer of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. And we installed a lot of charging stations across Canada. So I know what I'm talking about. We did participated in a little findings about where would be good spots across the United States and Canada to put the supercharging hubs. And it happens to be that in 87% of the locations where the supercharging hubs supposed to be, there is no power at all. Oh. We as well done a little bit of the projects in the rural Canada and even in southern Canada, where the cost of bringing power, even 50 kilowatt power to the site, was millions and millions of dollars. Ooh. So I think personally, when you go into any show, and this is the reason why we don't make level 3 chargers. We do have a 25 kilowatt IAS white label product, which we sell under Grizzly brand, but it's not our charger. We only focused on level 2 chargers because I strongly believe that level 3 chargers, which we have right now, are not worth it. If you would remove government incentives from infrastructure, the infrastructure will simply collapse and die. We've been spending our taxpayer money to keep up this infrastructure for about 10 years now, and it's still not reliable. It's getting worse. There is no lineup of people who would like to install EV chargers, and there are many, many reasons behind that. So I would like you to look at the problem from a little bit different perspective. We need supercharging hubs on the highways. We need we need hubs 250, 300 stalls, delivering up to 350 kilowatt each. That is about 30 megawatt of power. And this 30, 40 megawatt of power, you cannot get anywhere because demand charges will kill it. And they are killing the system right now. Like, we cannot rely on grid to do EV charging, period. Only maybe in 10%, 10-15% of the cases you can rely on grid. But grid power is extremely expensive. The demand chargers, again, killing the idea. The host who spends hundreds of thousands of dollars to install DC fast chargers, losing tremendous amount of money every month. There is no way we can make it work at the moment, unfortunately. And if the host would want to make a profit, then the charge of the electric car would be triple of the same cost to fill up the gasoline car at the pumps at the gas station. So we have an existential problem here for EV charging infrastructure, and nobody seems to look at this and figure out what we need to do. Everybody is happily making more and more powerful grid-connected DC fast chargers, but the problem is, like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it in rural Canada between Timmins and Sudbury, or like in the mountains or in the desert? Like, how are you going to provide a reliable charging infrastructure? That's why I'm driving hybrid. I've been driving full electric for about 9 years, and I had a couple after Tesla. I had a couple of cars, and then I switched to hybrid because my hybrid drives enough for me to get from A to B on electric, and then if I need to do a road trip, then I'm driving gas because it's hard. Well, in the early days, we used to sacrifice ourselves, I know, but right. It's okay to be a heroic for a couple of years, but being heroic all your life, driving electric, that's a little bit too much to ask, right? So the question is, how are we going to fix it? That's number one. Number two, everybody somehow in the government and in the media everywhere is somehow focused on batteries, on cars, production, on the costs of cars, but nobody is focused on the cost and production of electric vehicle chargers. What do they cost? Are they profitable? How much do they cost to the host? And the reason is why nobody is focused on it, because everybody knows that they are selling a dead horse to the customer. And when I don't want to name company names, but if any company which makes a, say, 350 kilowatt charger and sells it, and that charger probably costs about, I don't know, $150,000, $160,000, right? When you install this charger, the customer is not aware that he's going to inherit demand charges, which probably can be for 350 kilowatt in Toronto, $50,000 a month. Easily. I don't know about US, probably maybe less, maybe, but at least $5,000-$10,000 a month. You're just going to pay to utility to have ability to draw this power. And most likely that money goes to some generators which are on the grid, which they crank to get the power, because nuclear, it's more linear. The hydro is more linear. The storage we don't have, because storage is extremely expensive, right? So it's kind of a catch where you kind of catch your tail over and over again, and you roll in nowhere. So nobody looks at it, and the reason why, if people will start to focus on it, they will realize that something is wrong. And for me, when I go into the such shows and I see all those beautiful, shining, and bragging about 350 kilowatt and 120 and 180 and 250 kilowatt chargers, I laugh, because it's an outdated technology. It's a dead child. It's born dead child. What we need companies to be willing to invest into the infrastructure. And the only reason why they would be willing to invest in the infrastructure is they can make money, right? So sure. If, like in the gas station, why people buy gas stations? Because they make money, yes, right?
Right.
Why people don't buy electric vehicle chargers en masse? Because they don't make money. And like in the early days, the big corporations, they have their agenda, a check mark. So they buy a charger in front of the building and they put it out there and they make a check mark. Now we are a green company. See, we have a charger out there. And they don't care what it costs to carry this charger. Government-related money, so much money is wasted. It breaks my heart. It's unbelievable. I'm not sure how about United States, but in Canada, somehow government selected just one company and poured about $500 million already into that company, which is producing nothing. And if that company going to be left alone tomorrow, it will just die off because it cannot compete on the market. So we need to change the way we do in infrastructure. We don't have a technology today which will really bring the profitability, and I'm going to tell you what it is. It's very simple. It's hydrogen.
Okay.
It's hydrogen, but it's not hydrogen which you fill into the electric car, because that doesn't make any sense. The battery electric vehicle is the cheapest electric vehicle solution available, because the hydrogen fueled vehicles are good for trains, huge machinery, tractors, like excavators, I know submarines, maybe like ships. Yes, then you can put big converters which are not like rare metal based, like platinum based elements, which actually like Toyota Murray cost $100,000, and the actual just the insert of the platinum inside that costs $120,000. You know, that is crazy. Yes, but what we need to do, and I'm openly speaking about, and I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do it once I make enough money. The reason for United Chargers, so we make in level 2 chargers, we make the whole variety of level 2 chargers. And by the way, today we opened sales for the 48 amp Grizzly Ultimate at a very, very attractive price. For the next 2 months, it's going to be on sale for $397 US for a 48 amp connected metal case, made in Canada, not India, not China, made in Canada here, charger, right, which is impossible to break with our local support and everything else. I'm trying to make enough money so I can start doing the hydrogen. And I'm talking about it openly. It might be a secret trade. No, it's if somebody will make it, I'm here to speed up adoption of electric vehicles. If somebody can hear me and make it before I make it, that's going to be awesome. There is so much opportunity in this market, in this field. So here's the some cost details. So the infrastructure is supposed to be like nuclear plants, especially in Canada. Like Ontario is a special case where we pay $1 billion a year to get rid of the extra power we produce overnight to New York and Quebec. So we actually pay $1 billion a year for the power which we don't use overnight. We are industrious province. We do use a lot of power during the day, but during the night, all our nuclear plants, they actually heat in the air, right? So instead of that, if you take that power overnight, and we have Great Lakes, we have plenty of water, you put a filtration system, you at Bruce Peninsula, for example, power plant, they have 9 reactors, and they produce like 50% of Ontario power. You build, they have a lot of space there. You build a hydrogen plant, which will make hydrogen out of water during the night and store it in the underground huge tanks. It takes 50 kilowatt of power to produce 1 kilogram of hydrogen. At night, you pay, I think we pay like 3 or 4 cents per kilowatt to get rid of this energy. So basically, it's going to be like, you're going to save about $1.50 already per kilogram of hydrogen to make it, instead of selling it to New York and Quebec. Well, paying to get rid of it.
Okay.
Then an average, then you transport, and we know how to, you condense the hydrogen, and you transport hydrogen to the supercharger hubs. So you have a wheel spoke system where basically there's so many benefits in it. Nobody gets fired. All the guys who were driving gasoline will drive hydrogen. Everybody will have local work. Nobody will get out of job and have to look for something else. So we're gonna just change the gasoline wheel and spoke to hydrogen wheel and spoke, right? And the aggregators of that hydrogen would be nuclear stations, because they produce a lot of power overnight, which is not used and can be converted to hydrogen. In Ontario, just the Bruce Peninsula Power will be able to fuel up to 10 million electric cars. 10 million
like
electric cars for free. And if we utilize all that power that we pay $1 billion a year to get rid of, and we stop paying that $1 billion, we keep it in our pocket, and then we produce hydrogen, that hydrogen will be enough to power 10 million electric cars. So you make a wheel spoke chain, you build, yes, you have to invest, you build a solid infrastructure hubs. It's not going to be just a DC fast charger. Yeah, probably going to cost $20-30 million per spot to build the underground storage for the hydrogen, to build a separate facility with the proper converters of hydrogen, conversion, right? It's not burning, it's converting. With a huge metal-based converters, which operate at like 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot converters, which are cheap and reliable, but they need to operate all the time. They keep operating. And then you put the stalls. And you receive the DC power right away. DC power from the converters goes through a battery, small, like a condenser battery storage, which balances there is a lot of R&D to be done, right? It's like we need to make it work. And then you come to the stall, you plug it in, you pay, and you get power from the hydrogen. So the kilogram of hydrogen costs $2. If you buy it, if you just buy it from a sub-product of a chemical reaction today, if you make it en masse on these nuclear plants, it's probably going to cost about 80 cents per kilogram. So you need 5 kilograms of hydrogen to get 100 kilowatt of power of energy into the car. So that calculates to $8. Okay. So to get 100 kilowatt of power will be $8. So it's 8 cents. 8 cents per kilowatt.
Oh, okay. So you want basically instead of charging hubs from the grid, you think we should have this intermediate power energy storage of hydrogen, basically, to replace the grid connections.
Yeah, basically you have an off-grid hydrogen power plants, converting power plants will charge the infrastructure, and the sub-product of that process is a hot water. So if you put the return loop and the turbine, you can recover up to 70% of power. And you still have plenty of hot water, which you can use in the neighborhood. You can heat up the whole square of the homes, or you can heat up in a pool, or you can heat up like a grow infrastructure, like vegetables or something like that. Plus, this becomes an off-grid power plant. And it's quite cheap power to be a peak power, to be an emergency power, or even sign up the neighborhood to be your power distribution, to connect not to the grid, but to connect to this power charge distribution. So there is
Gleb, quick question. What do you say to the people that would say, well, you've got all this excess power from the power plants overnight, instead of using it to produce hydrogen, compressing it, shipping it, and do this, why don't we just invest? I know it's going to be a lot of money, but why don't we just invest in energy storage and just pump it all into there, and then we can use that during the day?
Excellent question. Now here is the answer. The storage has the end of life. It's expensive, and it's not. You cannot multiply it quickly. So basically, a lot of people think about, say, oh, why don't we put a battery storage? Okay, so we plug it into 220 volt. It's going to get the power. Then one Tesla comes, charges, and leaves. And second Tesla comes, charges, and leaves. Then third Tesla comes and wait for 3 days. It's not scalable, guys. It's not scalable. You cannot scale battery storage. Battery storage is good for the peak balance. But for the storage, like store all that energy, hydrogen doesn't have end of life. You can store it there for 100 years. It's still going to be hydrogen. It's not a battery which is going to destruct itself by the physical process in 3 years or 5 years, right? So it's cheap. It's amazingly cheap. It's 80 cents per kilogram. We know how to use it. We know how to produce it. We have plenty of water. When you produce it, you release oxygen into the atmosphere. When you convert it, you take that oxygen back from the atmosphere. So there is zero impact on anything, right? It's going to be a very nice air besides these production plants, because probably the percentage of oxygen in the air will be not 21, but maybe 23, 24, right? But still, and it's scalable. So you can put another converter, which probably cost about, I don't know, $150,000, $200,000, the converter, but it's scalable. And you can add another 10 megawatt, 5 megawatt of power through those converters. So battery storage is not a solution. Dominic, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around all that because I always think, you always hear about hydrogen cars or hydrogen trucks, and I've never thought that was a great solution. Could this work? We'd have to do. There's a bunch of math. I think that we'd have to look at, but
I did all the calculations. I'm telling you, as soon as I have money, and I need probably about $20-25 million to start this, I will go and buy land between Barrie and Toronto. That's north. That's where a lot of cars go in. I'm just gonna buy a lot of land and I'm gonna start building this. As soon as I get money, as soon as I make enough money by selling level 2 chargers, that's next thing I'm gonna do.
Sure.
And talking about level 2 chargers really quickly, I know, Gleb, you and I, when I came up to visit you up in your factory, which was very impressive, and that was a good day. You talked a lot about having or believing that high-powered level 2 chargers are also a big solution to improving the grid. That maybe people are relying too much on DC charging now. That as long as the AC charging is a high-power charger, a lot of people could live fine with that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So hydrogen is for super hubs. Hydrogen is not for rural, is not for places where not a lot of car traveling. We're talking highways where hundreds of thousands of cars go every day, and that's where you need to put this supercharging hub locations, so you can actually supply the demand of all these people driving electric through the highways, right? But in the rural areas, in the areas where there's less traffic, again, DC power would be amazing, but there is no power available. Demand charges will be crazy. There is no ROI, and it's expensive. We sell in 25 kilowatt for what, $8,000, and that's probably one of the cheapest on the market. And it gives 25 kilowatt because it's 25 kilowatt, right? We have an 80 amp charger which delivers 19.2 kilowatt, and it costs $699. So you can install 10, 12
right
of those charging stations. And you don't need to pay demand charges. And then you can use it if you want some battery storage to it, if you like, and but it's going to be expensive. If you calculate the ROI, if you put a pen and paper and start calculating your profits, you will quickly figure out that not worth it. So level two. The problem is not many cars can utilize 80 amp today, but a lot of cars can utilize 30, 40, 50 amps. And 80 amp charger will be able to supply all those cars with the maximum power they can get. And if you get stranded somewhere, you're not blindly going somewhere without calculating. Okay, I'm gonna fly, but I don't care how much gas I have in my plane, right? We'll figure it out. No, everybody calculates, right? And then if something happens, then you know that there is a mesh of the chargers. 5 miles, I can go anywhere within 5 miles, and I can plug in into a level 2, and it's economical, and I'm going to make money to the host. Actually, I'm going to spend $5, $10, and half of that money the host will make to pay for the infrastructure he put in, and I will not be stranded. That's where government need to spend money. That's what we need to enforce. And again, government money is very sensitive matter. We all don't want government to spend money on something like this. That's supposed to be a business as usual. We need to stop it. It's bringing a bad influence, and it's going to end up really, really bad. All these companies going bankrupt, one after another. We spending our taxpayer money into those companies, and they bankrupting. They bankrupting because we're doing something wrong. We need to change that.
Okay, so AC charging in more rural areas. So, but how do we? I don't know. So, how do we?
Not only rural areas, anywhere.
Right. Well, I mean, away from large highways where we'd have big, large hubs, right? So, I mean, so you make EVSEs, and people have them in their homes. So people who own homes, and have driveways, don't really have this issue because they can charge at home. But for all those other people who live in apartments and things, like how do we get the AC? Use the AC chargers for them as well, but how do we kind of get it to them?
Well, this we need to allow parking on the street for charging, and many cities like in Canada, I know Montreal is very progressive about it. They have plenty of level 3 charging now. They bring it to Toronto, and it's just again, it's a matter of does it make sense? If a city will start making money from EV charging, trust me. Tomorrow they will start putting it together to make money. The reason why it's slow and why nobody we need to push it through because it doesn't make money. You invest to something that makes you loss. Why would you invest? Right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to invest to because things will lose money for a period of time. But as you scale and build, and your supplies become cheaper.
Here is again a very simple calculation. You say the charging station works out for 3 years. Let's say you buy a charging station with 3-year warranty, and let's say you make you double the cost of electricity to make profit, right? So let's say the average running 30 cents per kilowatt, and you sell it for 60 cents per kilowatt, right? And let's say you distribute 200 kilowatt per day, right? So you pretty much make $6 a day, right? So $6 a day. So multiplied by 1,000, it's $6,000. That's after 1,000 days, you throw your charging station away. Done. Outside, not gonna live. Even Grizzly. The plastic ones, 1 year, year and a half out. Metal ones, 3 years for sure, maybe 5, but 3 for sure. Then done. So you have $6,000. In this $6,000, you need to have at least double profit. You need to make $3,000 profit. So it will be interesting for you to do. And then you only have $3,000 left for installation, equipment, software, everything else, right? Software is extremely overpriced. You pay $20, $25 per port. This is crazy. Should be $2, $3 per port per month. The hardware, the port costs $2,500, commercial charger. This is insane. Installation costs $3,000, $4,000. So today, when you're trying to put a level 2 charger out there, and then we're not talking about like a high-end brand like ChargePoint, where installation will be together, the package will be $20,000.
Right.
But even like a cheapest, like a plasticky today, like a Chinese charger with some software company, which there are plenty. I'm not going to say any names, but it's still going to be around with installation like $5,000-$6,000. So where is your profit?
Right.
So what we're trying to do, we're trying to lower the cost of the hardware and software in order to fix into that $3,000 all in.
Okay.
As soon as we hit this point, everybody would want to have it.
Okay. So yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me
jump in for a sec, Tom. I've always, and I've said it numerous times on the podcast and other places that I'm a firm believer that level 2 charging has to play a bigger role in public charging than what it is now. Gleb mentioned earlier that there's not a lot of cars that have 80 amp onboard chargers. That's true, but we're seeing more and more of them come to market now, Gleb, with that. When we first started the whole EV thing years ago, a 30 amp onboard charger was the normal one. And then, of course, went up to 40, which was great. Now it seems like 48 amp is the baseline. There's no new electric vehicles come to market with less than 48 amps of onboard charging power. But now we're starting to see many of them jump up to the 80 amps, particularly the vehicles with the big batteries. So, I think that that's going to be an option in the future. And I think that's important because, as you mentioned, now with an 80 amp level 2 charger, AC charger, you're touching on the bottom of the speeds of some of the DC fast chargers. You're coming right up against the lower 24, 25 kilowatt chargers, which maybe aren't good enough for interstate travel, but they're definitely good enough for, inner city travel and daily traveling and just living. I think one of the problems people have that are transitioning from combustion vehicles to electric vehicles, Gleb, is that they like the DC fast charger model. I'm not saying it works. I'm saying they like it because it's similar to the model they're used to. They're used to driving all week and then going somewhere and filling up their tank, and they don't have to worry about refueling for another 5, 6, 7 days. That's what you get with DC fast charging. You don't get that with level 2 charging. You kind of have to opportunity charge. Whenever you have an available plug and you've got some time, you plug in, and it's not difficult. But I understand why people are a little bit less, a little bit more apprehensive to follow that model, is because they've been so trained for all the years you've been driving. Is that's not how you refuel a car. You refuel a car by driving somewhere, spending 5 or 10 minutes there, and now you're done for a week. So I think part of getting people more interested in high-speed level 2 charging is going to be education. In addition to the chargers have to be there, and they're just not now. There's not banks and banks of level 2 chargers in public parking lots, in shopping plazas and malls and things like that, where people go every day. Where Dominic mentioned earlier, what happens if you live in an apartment? Well, if you live in an apartment, you could plug in at work for a while if work had level 2 charging. Then you go to the supermarket, you're in there for an hour, you can plug in. Even with a 48 amp onboard charger, if you're in the supermarket for an hour, you're going to get 30 to 40 miles of driving range. And then you go to the movies and you plug in, you're there for 2 hours. And, that's what EV charging, I think, eventually is going to be like our cell phone. We're going to plug it in whenever we have the opportunity to, and AC charging is going to cost a lot less. So, when you and I were talking about this up at your factory and how you were excited about the 80 amp Grizzly Ultimate, I could see how that, I hope, will play a big role in our infrastructure in the coming years. We need to pay more attention to having level 2 charging just, ubiquitous. It's got to be everywhere.
Again, the cost, they play the whole game with if you own your own land and you are not getting money from the thin air from the government for free, then you calculate your budget. And when you calculate it and you go to the company to buy the charger, and then at the end you figure out that, well, you're not making any money, that kind of stops you from putting more chargers out there, unfortunately. I think government need to subsidize manufacturers, local manufacturers, so we can have local jobs and subsidize the cost of the charger. So then we can sell it for less to the consumer and get some portion of the money, some profits from the government, so we can build more chargers. That's it. And if you want my prediction for the next 10 years, let me tell you what's going to happen. So we are at about 10% of new EVs sold right now. In Canada, about 12%. United States, about 8.9%, 9%. We're going to grow to about 15% within the next 2 years. and then we're going to stall. And we're going to stall until we have the mesh of level 2 charging infrastructure built up. Within the next 2 years, I guarantee you personally, I will make a commercial charger, maybe within 6 months, which will be with install below $3,000. I guarantee. I'm on that mission, and I'm very close to it. So once we figure it out and make the education process, where people will see, oh, whoa, we really make money. Okay. Then once people start making money, trust me, that's going to be filled out everywhere. Now, we would need about 5 years from now, if well-funded, to develop the hydrogen technology. It's not an easy way to do it. We need to have a multi-level government support and nuclear power plant support and a lot of money in R&D to figure it out. But trust me, it's way less money that we spend today for those 350 kilowatt DC fast chargers who will nobody use or cut off their cables because they're so expensive. Level two cable, at least it's like there is not much copper in there, right? Or even if any, right? So there is no point of cutting it off, right? So that's the problem. If within the next 5 years we develop a robust hydrogen fueling infrastructure, then by 2040 we have a good chance of going full electric. Break this 25-30% new electric car sold rate and hit into 50, 60, 70%. By 2040, I'm pretty sure we will be able to have flying electric cars and a new game coming, but they're going to be very energy dense batteries. And as you know, batteries dense growing, the cost going down. So things are looking good. We just need to focus on the right things and stop wasting money on something that will never going to work.
Just take advantage of that well, not free, but extra capacity that nuclear energy has, right? To produce.
Oh, even nuclear. Well, water, solar. We have plenty of solar in gooseneck and belly. We have this goose belly in California all the time. Why don't take this power, make hydrogen when it's free? When the power is free, why are you wasting it? Make hydrogen. You can make hydrogen all day long.
Right. Now we're still doing, in California at least, they're doing a lot of battery storage because we have, huge megawatt projects with battery storage out there.
Yeah, again, battery storage per kilowatt hour is extremely expensive. It adds up. When you put your starts to calculate your ROI, that will be a big red number.
Okay. All right. So anything else we want to touch on this morning? So I wanted a little bit to, you mentioned some like subsidies. So you do actually believe like government subsidies are kind of needed at least for this beginning stage, right?
Well, we passed that stage already 5 years ago.
Okay.
Honestly, right now what we're doing is pouring this fuel on the companies which go bankrupt one after another, and that chain will never stop because these companies have no ability to perform on their own. They're not lean. They are spending money on. They're not calculating money because they got it for free. We are self-funded. Me myself funded this company from all the money I made over my 20 years of working as a programmer, and I invested all my money, and I didn't get even $0 from the government of any kind of support, and I'm ignored by all levels of government because I'm not connected businessman like many who getting millions and hundreds of millions of dollars and going around with the shows about their chargers which are not even UL certified. That's embarrassing.
Right. All right. You have anything else there, Tom?
Oops. No, not really. I mean, we touched on both DC, what Gleb's vision for DC charging will be in the future. We talked about AC. That's pretty much what I wanted to hear from him. I had known that Gleb was, because we had talked about his, let's say, dissatisfaction with the state of high-speed infrastructure in the past, but not to this extent. And he brings up a interesting possible solution for this. And I'd like to see
it's just getting aggravated.
Let's say the proof of concept site that you talked about, perhaps if you can get the money for it. That would be interesting. I think we need to explore every type of an option we have these days because there are, as Gleb points out, there's a lot of areas that just don't have the power necessary
the beauty of hydrogen
to high-speed charge, and that's why we've got these pockets around the country where there's no high-speed charging, and that we need a complete comprehensive network. You can't have blackout areas because this whole half of this state it doesn't have enough power in that rural area. People need to drive through that, and for everybody to be able to have an electric car, you've got to be able to drive everywhere, not most of the places. I'm interested in seeing if Gleb could put this together. It'd be an interesting concept.
So the alternative right now, which U.S. government is seriously considering, guys, and don't be shocked. You know what they're trying to do? They are building small nuclear reactors, 10, 20 megawatt nuclear reactors that which they want to use to power electric vehicle infrastructure. That is insane.
Okay. Oops, we lost Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean SMR. I think we call them SMRs, basically the small nuclear. Yeah, they're running into some problems. I know that a few of those companies have gone bust in the last little while, right? So that's more of an energy production side of things. But yeah, so I think I guess we lost Tom. So we should probably just call it an episode right there. We're at 40 minutes and stuff. But I wanted to thank you very much for coming on and talking with us about this. This is great. So that brings us to the end of our show. Thanks for spending this time with us. So what's the best way for people to keep up with what you're doing there, Gleb?
Well, the best way for people to keep up is if you are not a garage orphan, if you have a garage, buy a level 2 charger, use it daily, overnight. It's very cheap. It's the cheapest way to charge your car. Every night, every morning, you wake up with a full battery and enjoy your day.
Sounds good to me. All right. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Don't forget, if you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Again, thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you all again very soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you. Ciao.